And what's going on, guys? Kale here, coming at you with a follow-up video to my initial Cloak video. So this one is going to be basically just taking Cloak into the first couple of Mystic sections of the Doom Raid. So I was able to get him up to ISO green 4, so green 4 basically. So let's go ahead and look at him. Don't mind the heroes for hire. That was basically just spending some gold today. So if we go in here in the Verse Battle tab, so Cloak has not improved too much as far as his actual gear goes. About the only big change that I did make to him is that he is currently level 81. I just thought that that would really kind of help with just kind of, I guess, really getting him through the node. Still pretty low powered. He's only 3 stars. I haven't taken him past G12. I haven't put in any T4s yet, and that's just basically resource-wise. I can put in to G13 with the miasmas, but I am saving them currently for Deathpool, who I'm basically just her one little piece away from being G15, and I would just really like to go ahead and just get Deathpool done before working on Cloak. So I will go ahead and I will do these other ones just to give him a little bit more of a power boost. And ideally, hopefully, this is also going to give him a little bit more survivability. And if he works kind of the way that I am anticipating him to work, I think he is going to function very similar to Ebony Maw. I've gone ahead and switched him over to a skirmisher, even though I do think until you unlock Dagger, I think he might actually do a little bit better as a raider, but I didn't want to take him up to Raider 4 and then just planning to switch him over to Skirmisher anyway. So I thought it was easier to just kind of keep him as a Skirmisher and basically see what happens. Currently with my Mystic team, I am not having any issues doing any of the Mystic nodes. Occasionally, depending on how I'm playing, if I'm like super focused, once in a blue moon I'll still time out on the boss node, but that's basically only if I'm not really paying attention. These first 2 nodes go pretty quickly, and the last node I pretty much got it down packed with the old team. So what should come up, and that is not the team I actually use for this. This is going to be my normal Mystic team, and I think what we're going to do, kind of like I said, I think Cloak is basically an Ebony Maw 2.0 is kind of the vibes that I'm getting from him. So let's go ahead and take out Ebony Maw. We will go ahead and add in Cloak. And Cloak just really, he has a lot of healing in his kit. When Dagger is actually on his team, he'll be doing that 5% drain every single turn, whereas without Dagger, he's got a 50% chance to do it, basically. So kind of flip a coin, sometimes it'll happen, sometimes it won't. But in Blitz, he was doing pretty well, and he did really well in the beta raids, even though it was only 4.1. So I figured this would kind of be a good test of basically him as a character and how he kind of just slots into my Mystic team. So I'm going to kind of talk through basically what I do with this node. I'm not going to play it any differently than I normally do. So I normally start this off, I heal block Hawkeye, and then what I'll then go and do is with Deathpool, I will then go spread those ability blocks to Mordo and Corvus Glaive. And now we've got the addition of Cloak, so that's definitely something new. So let's go ahead and apply some offense downs, as well as some random effects. And we did get a blind over here, like on Mordo. Let's go ahead and ability block Proxima. And let's see. So now normally what I do is I normally just go ahead and take out Hawkeye, as he just drops pretty quickly. And let's see. Okay, and I just got panicked for a second. I apologize for the awkward silence. I was just like looking, and I'm like, what am I missing on the field? And Adam Warlock was doing his little invisibility act. So it's good to see that that bug is alive and well, and that has not changed. So now what we're going to do is with Deathpool, we're going to start building up those 5 charges, basically for the last node. And what we will do on the last node is we basically just go in and we nuke Doom real fast, and then the rest of the node is pretty, just kind of like cleaning up, essentially. Let's see. Alright, so that's not going to work with Corvus being stealthed over here, so let's go ahead and use the basic. and that'll give us a little bit of a heal. And let's go ahead now, target Captain Marvel. Now I am noticing Cloak over here is looking a little bit on the squishier side, just as far as he's getting a hit a bit harder than essentially my Ebony Maw was. But when you look at what he is replacing, I mean, we can compare them just a little bit, but my Ebony Maw is obviously a lot more built up than this actual Cloak is. So my Ebony Maw is G15. I believe, I know for a fact he's 7 gold stars. I'm not too sure on the red stars that I have on Ebony. I think I might have 5, but I'm not 100% sure on that. So, there's obviously going to be a little bit of a difference as far as, their overall health, but this node is going pretty normal. Basically, what I'm going to start doing now is I'm going to start saving cooldowns and, continuing to build those charges over here with Death Pool. And I'm not really, too worried about any of this. Let's go in. Let's see if that'll actually flip that. So we got rid of the taunt as well as the counter, so that's working, I guess, as intended, and it wasn't resisted, which is semi-impressive considering how weak the Cloak is and essentially how strong these characters are supposed to be. But yeah, this node went pretty easy. I think this node in general is a fairly easy node. We are at 4 charges over here, so that'll get us up to 5. We've got Doom's ult available for turn 1 on the next node. But yeah, I mean, that went pretty well. Everyone is pretty much full health, with the exception of, I think, Cloak and Doom have a little bit of damage, but nothing too crazy. So we will go in and go ahead and load into the second node. And it was definitely interesting. We did get a mail today that was basically talking that Dagger is coming to the Strike Pass. And there was rumors / data mines kind of flying around that basically you are going to have to choose in the Strike Pass, basically if you want Dagger orbs or Cloak orbs. Kind of very similar to that kind of whoopsie-daisy event they did with Cull Obsidian and Ghost. So it'll be kind of interesting to see, I guess, what actually happens with that, and if there's going to be another way to actually earn their shards, since they are both 100 shard unlocks. So that's essentially 2 seasons of the Battle Pass. Anyway, so let's go a bit into this node. This node can be a little tricky. Basically what you have to watch out for is the She-Hulks, and there's kind of a couple things you can do to kind of counteract the She-Hulks charges. My favorite for this first little wave is to actually just go in and stun with Adam Warlock, and while She-Hulk is stunned, she doesn't build up any charges. And I already have Doom's ult ready to go, so I hit her once, I will hit Falcon another time, and we will then go boom with Doom, and that should basically almost clear the field. So we don't want to use Deathpool's ultimate since we do have our charges already built up. So we'll go in and do a little basic damage. Deathpool is getting to go several times because of Doom's ultimate. And then this wave right here, there's really... I mean, I just don't really target them in any particular way. Basically what I'm waiting for is just the second She-Hulk to drop. And basically how I will deal with the second She-Hulk is, basically build her up to her 4 charges, and then what I will go and do is go ahead and use Silver Surfer's ultimate, and that basically gets rid of those charges, and then she's nothing to worry about. So again, this node is going, pretty simple. I honestly think, for the most part, I could almost... I could almost 4-man this node. We are going to have to be careful, though. Cloak over here is almost dead, and he does have a taunt on him, which I believe he is taunting because of War Machine over here. So let's go ahead and get War Machine off the field. And then let's see. Let's go ahead and get this one out. Hopefully we'll get some heals. And we got a little bit of a heal, so not too bad. Let's go in, and we are actually going to stun Human Torch, because I don't want Human Torch doing his big ultimate, and because he is right next to She-Hulk, she actually got stunned with him. So let's go in and do a little damage to She-Hulk, and probably what we'll have to do is we'll just have to kind of go in and heal up Cloak over here, but not really the end of the world. Let's go ahead and get those done. And we might as well just go ahead and do the special with Doom. And I'm actually surprised that didn't finish She-Hulk off. I'm a little impressed. But anyway, node is handled. like I said, Cloak is still a little bit on the squishy side, and I think that is definitely more so has to do with him and his current gear level for me, and not necessarily a reflection of his kit. So you're looking here, I mean, I would probably not take in a G12 character into Doom 1.0, and so that just really just kind of goes to show his survivability, his HP or his health. So this will be, the true test. This is the node of all the Mystic sections. This is probably the hardest of the Mystic nodes. Still don't find it all that hard on Kale. Like I said, I've been able to pretty solidly one-shot this node if I'm basically paying attention, and the only time I do not one-shot it is when I just kind of get distracted a little bit, and essentially I time out. But I haven't wiped on this node in quite some time now, so we will see how Cloak does. So typically with this node, what I start off with is I go ahead and an ability block Squirrel Girl. I don't want her cleansing those negative debuffs. And then we go in with the ultimate over here and one-shot Doom. So Doom is now out of the picture. And let's just go ahead, we'll get some debuffs going. We will then go ahead and ability block Electro over here. And now we're basically just going to start kind of slowly ticking down on Squirrel Girl. So we have Doom's ult that was ready to go. Definitely very important when you do this node, if you do have Doom. And then we will go in and do the special, and that almost pretty much takes care of this first wave as far as like with their actual HP. So we'll go in with the basic, and not that we're normally able to build a second 5 charges in this match, but we might as well at least start working towards it. Sometimes it does happen. Just really kind of depends on how fast everything is going and whatnot. But Cloak over here is looking pretty scary. He is almost dead over here, so let's see if we can get him back on his toes. And I can't tell because of the Doom bot. I think Cloak is still there. A little hard to tell. Yes, Cloak was still there, and poor Cloak did just die. So that's basically going to end essentially the Cloak testing of this little situation. I think a lot of that has to do with his actual gear level with me. I don't necessarily think that's an indication of him as a character, but let's just kind of go. We will keep fighting this node. This might be one of those situations where I am going to have to two-shot this node, and again, I don't fault that for Cloak. Essentially, like I said, I don't think I would ever bring in a G12 character into the Doom raids, even though it's only 1.0. That is still a really low-level character. I think the recommended gear level for the Doom raids is actually G14, is I think what a lot of the infographics suggest. And, obviously some of the T4 is built in, and we have not done any of those investments into Cloak. So I think he did actually pretty well. He was able to do the first 2 nodes, no problem. And I think basically as I continue to develop him, I think he is definitely going to be a more viable option, and in general, I think he's going to have a lot more longevity than say some of the other Mystic characters. A lot of the newer characters are just built to be incredibly overpowered essentially, and they are built to be basically to handle these raids. So it's definitely, I think, something to kind of consider, especially if you haven't already worked on a Mystic team. I think Cloak is going to be a wonderful option, more so even if you have Dagger to go along with him, because, he is being built basically or advertised essentially as a trio, very similar to the Secret Avengers, where you have Captain Sam, you have Maria Hill, and you have Sharon Carter, and then for good measure you can kind of just throw on 2 other characters, and the team does really well. And I think that's kind of what this new Warriors team is going to be like. You have Cloak, you have Dagger, and you have Deathpool, and then you basically add on what other 2 Mystic characters you have. So, whether you've got Doom, whether you've got Adam Warlock or Surfer, I think it's just really going to depend on where your roster is at that time. But I think that's kind of how he is being, how this team is basically being marketed or, used. So I do think we are still going to be able to, we might still be able to two-shot or one-shot this, even with my diminished team rather. Let's see if we can finish this off in the allotted time. And that just also goes to show kind of in a, I guess in an abstract way, the power of Deathpool, because prior to getting Deathpool and getting her on this team, I was sometimes one-shotting this node, definitely consistently two-shotting it, but I was more so, two-shotting than I was one-shotting. And since I've added Deathpool and I bring in the kind of the normal team, I never have any issues really with one-shotting this. And if we start clicking a little bit faster, we might actually still be able to one-shot this. Let's see what we've got. Basically, at this point, it's just kind of a race against the clock. And yeah, so we're not going to be able to one-shot this. But we will be able to go in and do a very simple two-shot, basically. So not too bad. Certainly not a full showcase, I don't think, yet of Cloak. We did just actually lose our Adam Warlock, which that is unfortunate. But yeah, so, I'd say initially I am definitely leaning towards Cloak being a really good character. Obviously, I think he's going to be a lot better if he does have Dagger, but I think he does have some sustain even without her. And I still am going to kind of bill him as, Ebony Maw 2.0. And the reason I can say that also is just because typically Ebony Maw is actually, if I do lose anyone on that node, it's normally Ebony. And if we wanted to look at Ebony Maw real fast, just to kind of get a comparison. So my Ebony Maw over here is 134k, where my little Cloak is only 64k. So, basically a little bit more than half, or actually over half of what Ebony Maw's actual power is, and Cloak was able to hang in the Mystic section. So I think he has my stamp of approval. I think he is definitely going to be a phenomenal Mystic raid character. I think he has some really good potential in Dark Dimension, and once I finish up building Deadpool, I will certainly go ahead and test that out. There are some miasmas in this Shang-Chi event, so once I get those, if I'm not already at the point where I'm at G15 for Deadpool, it'll certainly happen then, and then I can start building up Cloak to G15, and I can also do a further test with him, kind of, I guess, max power, and see if that makes a difference, and if y'all are even interested. So as always, I want to thank you so much for watching this video. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already done so. Hope everyone is having a good week, and take it easy.